This involves student drug testing in high school. Should there be mandatory drug testing in our public schools?
Absolutely not. And this is something that we at Students for Sensible Drug Policy work quite a bit on. And I'd like to talk to you about the way that random student drug testing works, the regulatory system surrounding it. First of all, there have been a number of studies done on the effectiveness of random student drug testing. There have been, I will say, some of the numbers are kind of all over the place. However, the largest study that was done, which was funded by the National Institute of Drug Abuse and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which looked at about 50,000 students across the country, found that there's absolutely no difference in usage rates between schools that implement random student drug testing and schools that don't implement random student drug testing. It doesn't have the desired effect. It's ineffective, and in fact, in many places, it's counterproductive. And I'll get to that in a second. So it clearly doesn't work. At the very least, it's ineffective. So what we're now teaching our students is that they are guilty until they're proven innocent, that they have to prove their worth through their urine. And as I said, it turns everybody to suspect, and it breaks down bonds of trust that need to exist between students and their superiors, their teachers, their guidance counselors, if they're going to feel comfortable talking to these people about problems that they or their friends may be having with drugs. If they're treated as a suspect at all times, there's no way that they're going to go and talk to those teachers or those guidance counselors about the fact that they may, be having some sort of a problem with drugs, or they may be, developing a drug habit or so forth. And to talk about how counterproductive the issue of random student drug testing is, what the Supreme Court has upheld right now is that you can randomly drug test any public school student who participates in extracurricular activities. Now, all studies show that the best way, and I'm sure that Bob and I can agree on this much, the best way to keep a teenager from having problems with drugs is to keep them supervised between the hours of 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Now, that's basically when they get off of school, when their parents get home from work. Now, under a system where we're only testing students who participate in extracurricular activities, those students who've never tried any drugs, never done anything, well, they don't care if they get tested, they're going to go participate. But those students who may be experimenting a little bit, who are the ones who are really the most at risk of having a drug abuse problem, are simply not going to participate in extracurricular activities when they're going to be unsupervised and more likely to use drugs. So we're actually driving away the students who are most at risk from the programs that are proven to keep them from going on to drug abuse problems. This is a counterproductive, insane policy for us to have, not to mention the federal government making millions of dollars available in grant money to schools that want to implement random student drug testing in their schools. This is money that's not available for books, for teachers, for reducing oversized classes. It's available for students to pee in a cup. I think that is a gross example of misplaced priorities.
I don't know the answer to the question. I have seen 4 really well done, in-depth, peer-reviewed studies on the issue. 2 say it's helpful, 2 say it's not. So I'm not going to impose.
Do you know which were the ones that say it was helpful?
I've got it here.
Okay.
Hold on. 2 say yes, 2 say no. I don't think the issue of marijuana high school use is really the issue with random drug testing. The thing that scares me, Chris and I were discussing this ahead of time, for many of your younger brothers and sisters, the drug of choice is no longer marijuana. The drug of choice has become pharmaceutical drugs, OxyContin, Vicodin, hydrocodone, etc. Kids are dying from that crap. I see them dying across the country. And I got to tell you something. You see one 12 or 13-year-old kid laying on his back, asphyxiated from vomiting because he was passed out from OxyContin, you're going to say, you know what, I'll do whatever I can. A lot of kids say what random drug testing does is give them the excuse to say no. One of the numbers I was surprised to hear Chris say, it's actually worse from my side than his. He said that first-time drug use in the United States was average 16. It isn't. It's 12 and a half. And I would argue with you that a 12-and-a-half-year-old that gets a drug stuck in his or her face needs help in saying no. Because these aren't you and I making rational decisions, these little kids. And for a lot of those kids, they will say that random drug testing gives them the excuse to say no. I'd love to do it with you, man, but my father's crazy. He makes me piss in a cup, and if I ever turn positive, he'd ground me for life. So I don't know what the answer is, but I will tell you that saving little kids who are not able to make a rational decision is worth a lot of different things we should look at. And I'll wait till the scientists give you a decision on whether it works in the long run or not.